mashes food. But the English name was called stirrup. They call this the stirrup poitang, and if you look at it, it has that shape of a stirrup. And so it was, again, held with two hands like this, your two thumbs went between those, and it would be like this. But again, Hawaii, the Hawaiians of Kauai did many just totally different, unique type of structures, type of carvings, and there's stories as to why, but I'm not going to dive into that. But these two are pili are connected to Hawaii only. And then, I think my seats are on. And then this style is the more common style that you'll find all throughout Polynesia, everywhere from Rapaiti to Tahiti to the Marquesas. This was the Penu, Pohaku, Paenga, however they have it in their language, but this is the common Pohaku that was used to Hawaii. So, which we're going to use today. So when we ku'iai, your umeke, you always have a water bowl on your left side. So our kupuna were always taught to pound. They were always taught to be right-handed. Now, of course, when you have kids come up and like, Uncle, I left-handed. What are you going to do? And it's no, it's not a problem. Yeah, if you're left-handed, of course, there's no problem. It's just that our kupuna were always taught to be right-handed to prepare food, or especially pa'iai, to ku'i with your right hand, and your left hand was used to palu, just to fold, and you'll see in the process. And of course, you can use two hands.
I have a question about the board.
Sure.
You said that you can use the ohia. I was thinking the ohia is much smaller.
Oh yeah.
Skinnier board.
No. These actually are small ohia. Ohia, they can get up to about 75, 80 feet tall in the forest, and gigantic. These are very younger. Yeah. But Big Island still has the forests of massive.
So that's the width.
Yeah. Of course, this is an old ulu tree. Yeah, but I have an ohia board that I carved this wide, not as long, but ohia is much more heavier. I mean, it's probably half this size, but heavier than this board. Yeah. So, in the first process, you want to, keep your board nice and moist. Because the trick is, and in the process of making pa'iai, is this water is only to keep the base or the mole of your pohaku ku'iai wet, and to keep the board nice and moist. It's not to add water, to mix. It's not for mixing. It's just for your left hand, for the base, and for the board. You have a question?
Yes, what kind of wood is this building made out of?
This building?
Yeah.
Cook Island pine. Tight knot pine. Tight knot pine. Okay, but the four middle braces, those are ohia. All of it was supposed to be ohia, but we won't go into that stuff. That's why we couldn't build it out of different laws on Maui. Oh yeah, sorry. This is the kalo is mana ela ela. So this is the kalo that the keiki you guys had a chance to come into the lo'i and harvest. Yeah, the black one. Sorry, that black one. So the first stage of making pa'iai is called pa-ki-ki. And pa-ki-ki means, if anybody knows that word, it means stubborn. Because the first stage is tricky. If you don't do the first stage right, then your pa'iai is going to be lumpy and not going to be good consistency. Oh, you want to put that up there? So everybody will have a chance to come over and ku'iai. I'll just kind of get it started and do a little demo, and then it's always nice. We always have the kids. Everybody comes up and gives it a couple ku'is and see the process. So this action with the left hand, when you fold it back, it's called pelu. And pelu means to fold. You can pelu obviously like your clothes, and so that word is kind of a generalized term. But ku'i means to mash. Pohaku ku'iai means a stone that mashes food. And so what we're making is not pa'iai or poi like I had mentioned earlier, but whatever it is that you're, whether it's ulu, banana, uala, sweet potato on the board, it's always ai. You always hear that term ai. It's not the finished product. The finished product is only when you take it off the board, put it in a you know, a type of pot or a platter or an umeke or a bowl, and it's prepared, you know, there. That's when you give it its, you know, other name. But what we're making is strictly pa'iai. So in this first stage of pakiki, you notice I'm not putting in a lot of water. You don't want to, you don't want to add a lot of water. You don't want it to be too, too watered down, because the object of making pa'iai is to take out the pu'upu'us or the lumps. When I first started making pa'iai 10 years ago, I remember, I don't know why this was, but one of the first times I ku'iai was in front of a bunch of kupuna. That was not the right thing to do, because obviously, kupuna are going to be looking right down at you, making sure that you're doing everything right. And I remember my auntie, who was also raised in Waikapu, she had passed, and she looked at it, she says, ai pu'upu'u ke la, which basically means, oh, that looks like lumpy poi. So that was not a good compliment at all. So I knew from then out that I better learn this technique and learn the tradition of it. And so I got to learn from a couple kupuna that grew up and raised farming and also making pa'iai, and continue to this day making pa'iai. So I'm only using this cut. This is called the ka'e, or the edge, and part of the mole. Because you want to keep the pohaku as clean as possible. Kupuna always said you can tell a good poi pounder if at the end of making pa'iai, your board and your pounder were just as clean as when you started. So that's how you can tell you have good kalo as well. It's all, it's not also just about the poi pound, the actual person, but it's about making sure that you harvest your kalo at the right time. Your kalo was healthy, you cooked it, or you can overcook kalo and it'll be just mush, you know what I mean? And of course, if you undercook kalo, those of you who don't know, kalo has calcium oxalate crystals in it, which basically will make it a very painful process to eat. So you want to always make sure that you're cooking your kalo thoroughly. And if you have any questions, by all means. Because this first stage takes some little time.
Beginning, did you smash your fingers a lot?
Never have. Never had a kid smash their fingers. One funny story is that we were using 2 summers ago, one of my Kamehameha programs, one of our family poi pounders that's a couple hundred years old, and he was for me, I'd rather people use the old stuff because that's what it was there for, not to be put on a shelf and look pretty, And so he was a purdy from up country. I'll never forget Lance. Good kid. He still works. I still work with him. And he was pounding and pounding on the sport. We probably had like 5,000 kids pounding the sport. And as he came down, he lifted up, the knob broke right off. And it just was it was its time. And everybody, the room just went silent. Like, Uncle Kual's gonna blow up. He's gonna freak out. And I was like, that to me makes me kind of happy that he was using it. Somebody was using it, and it broke that way. If it was on a shelf and had an earthquake and it fell off and it broke, then I would cry.
You were my dad.